Peace, 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 everybody. It is your sister Roo, MaWu Lisa Temple, beautiful upstate New York. It is Saturn Day, and we are UnRead Book Review with Nick and Roo. This is my brother Nick. We are here this week, ready to bring you some fire, fire, fire. You know we love bringing you these books every 2 weeks. And in between, you get a few sneak peeks of other things too and bonus videos. So, hey, thank you for being here with us today for this episode of UnRead. Now, if this is your first time here, welcome. Make sure you subscribe and like and follow and comment and all that stuff so you can stay connected. And if you're coming back, welcome back. And we got some great stuff for you today. Now, I want to say that this episode has a trigger warning. Now, I don't think that we've ever had one of those, have we, Nick?
No, we have not.
Okay, so I just want to let people know there will be some sensitive information talked about in this particular video. So I wouldn't suggest that anyone under any minors view this. And if you have some form of trauma, abuse, and things like that, those kind of things will be touched on a little bit today. So just a warning to you, trigger warning, a little heads up, because we getting into some stuff today. So Nick, how was your week? How you doing? What's going on over there with you?
Hey, I'm just enjoying my time off, from the school year. So summertime, warm weather, the rest and relaxation. This is funny. I actually stopped by the school yesterday to pick up my summer reading book because I forgot to take it with me before school ended. And a couple of people saw me. They're like, "Oh, you look nice and relaxed." And then another coworker said, "You look quote unquote summery." And I'm like,
hey.
I'm like, yeah, that's what it looks like when you're not working.
Absolutely.
Yep. So yeah, I'm feeling great.
Absolutely. Well, you know what? We thank you for the work you do in the community. And I was going to say, my mother said, people that love the work they do, you can't keep them away from it. They find a way to have to go there. So that says a lot about you. Yeah. So, UnRead is Saturn Day. Our last coming together, we had some fun. We talked about some great things. For those of you who are looking for the bonus videos for Quest, I did have them up. I was having a little technical difficulty. MaWu Lisa Temple. So I was having a little technical difficulty, but those videos will be up for you. For those of the people that like to take part in those Quest bonus videos, take a chat, take a look at them, maybe interact with us. And we're going to do a couple of more episodes from those books. Quest and Buffalo Woman Come Singing. And we were talking about nurturing, and we'll be doing that again today. And we'll be closing that out for this season, for this year. So even though we always talk about nurturing, we'll be closing it out in that way. So any bonus videos, they will be linked in the bio once we figure out what's going on with my technology. It's probably me. Anyway, like I said, if you are not subscribed to us, please make sure that you do. Over here, Mr. Westbrook's Classroom for me, MaWu Lisa with the Z 4610 for YouTube. For IG, MaWu Lisa Temple 1, Mr. Westbrooks, Nick Westbrooks on IG. So you can make sure that you stay in tune with what we are here to offer you. So, Nick, I don't know, man. You ready to go this week? Like I said, I got a trigger warning on mine. I've been holding on to this book because, I was like, this is This is a hard one. It's going to be a hard one for some people, but it's very insightful when it's in tune and in line, like I said, with the nurturing that I've been talking about during cancer season in the last 2 books that I brought to UnRead.
Oh, yup, and yeah, it's definitely important for you to share, and yeah, I'm always ready.
So, do you want to go first? I mean,
yeah, I'm always ready. Yeah.
Age before beauty. Age before beauty.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, I could warm it up. I could warm it up for you.
Warm it up.
We can ease into the heavy, the heaviness that you got, because mine is pretty light. Mine is deep, but it's light though.
Okay, listen, we here for it, y'all.
We getting into some spirituality. I'm getting back into some spirituality with this offering that I have today, and this offering I stumbled upon maybe back in 2017, around that time, maybe 2016, 2017, around that time. It was one of my visits to Barnes and Noble. Barnes and Noble I think it's the Barnes and Noble in Clifton, New Jersey, if I remember correctly. I think it's the Barnes and Noble in Clifton, New Jersey. And I found this book in the vestibule area, that little space, between the outside door and the inside door, where they have the little table set up. Then you come inside, and the registers are right to your left, and then you go into the bookstore. So I found this book in the little vestibule area, bargain price, discount book. And you just know how certain books just speak to you. The spirit just speaks to you, and the price definitely spoke to me for sure. Well, it said bargain price only $8.98, and the sticker's still there too.
See that part?
Yep. $8.98. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to pick this up, and this is also during the era of me opening myself up to learning about the various spiritual systems. My foundation was in Christianity, in that religion, but of course, in my adolescence, I was exposed to a couple other things, like, of course, there was your major religions like Islam and Judaism, and even the 5%ers, the Nation of Gods and Nerves. But as I left home, and went to college out of state, I started getting exposed to more systems, and so I've just been curious about learning about various spiritual systems, and I'm not quite on the level of Roo when it comes to her comparative religion and mythology, but that's something that I've definitely gained some interest in. And me getting this book was just a part of that journey of doing some comparative study to see what commonalities I can find between the different spiritual and religious systems, and also looking for those universal messages, those universal truths that can be applicable to almost anyone, regardless of their race, creed, background, belief systems. And that's what I found in this offering here, my offering, which is 365 Tao Daily Meditations by Deng Ming-Dao. And also what attracted me to this book were the daily meditation aspects of it. Just mentioned a minute ago that my background, my foundation is in Christianity, and in my study of Christianity and my journey in Christianity, I've had daily devotional books. Yeah, I'm about to call them meditations, but we call them devotionals. Yeah. So daily devotionals where you just have that one pager There will be a scripture. There will be some type of meditation or lesson that goes along with it. And I still read those daily devotionals now. I have the daily bread, so I read the daily bread every morning. That's my my biblically based devotional. But this is very similar to those biblical devotionals, but rather than scriptures from the Bible, these are based on concepts from Taoism. And before I go into the book, I will give a little background on Taoism, just in case those in the audience are not familiar with Taoism. And I'm reading this from Google search, online research, Google search, assisted by AI, but the links are attached to what I'm reading here for the source material. So Taoism with a T is also spelled Taoism with a D. And it's an ancient Chinese philosophy and religion that emphasizes living in harmony with the Tao. And the Tao is often translated as the quote unquote, the way or the path. And it focuses on understanding and aligning with the natural order of the universe, promoting concepts like effortless action, simplicity, and spiritual cultivation. Now, here are some of the key aspects of Taoism. One, of course, is the Tao, and that's described as the ultimate ineffable principle that is the source and driving force of all things. It is not a deity, but rather the underlying order of the universe. Now, right there, that you can already start to think of comparative philosophies and systems when you hear the order of the universe. It reminds you of the universal laws of nature. It reminds you of the Hermetic principles when you hear the order of the universe. Another key aspect is harmony with nature. Taoism encourages living in accordance with the natural world rather than trying to dominate or control it. Again, that reminds me of the laws of the universe. The laws that affect us, like such as the cause and effect, as above, so below, as within, so without.
Yes.
Effortless action, a key concept often translated as non-action, but more accurately understood as acting in accordance with the natural flow of things, without excessive striving or artificiality. So that's another key aspect. Another key aspect, which I read often, which came up often in this 365 Tao daily meditations, is spiritual cultivation. Taoism involves practices like meditation, qigong, and other techniques aimed at developing inner harmony and spiritual awareness. It's very interesting. I've done some meditation during that time that I got this book. It was in relation to the breath work that I was learning. Surprisingly, through the school system, a organization, we had a partnership. They came and taught the staff and some of the students breath work, and I used the breath work as a vehicle to get into a meditative state. Mm-hmm. But qigong, that's something that I picked up maybe about 2 years ago. Yeah, 2 years mm-hmm. ago, or 2 or 3 years ago, I started practicing qigong as a part of my physical and spiritual cultivation. Qigong involves breath work, and involves connecting with the body, connecting with the earth, and it also has physical benefits. So that's something that I started doing along with Tai Chi. So that's something that I picked up later on, but now that I'm doing the qigong, that gives me more reason and more motivation to get back into the Tao and maybe not only revisit this specific book with the daily meditations, but also get into some other studies of Taoism. Another key aspect is the three treasures, which are compassion, frugality, and humility. And these are considered essential virtues. And one more key aspect of Taoism is immortality. While not a central tenet for all Taoists, some believe in achieving a form of spiritual immortality by merging with the Tao. Now, I mentioned that Taoism is a Chinese philosophy, spiritual system, or religion, but it's not the only one connected to the Chinese culture.
Right.
So in relation to other systems in China, you also have Confucianism, and Confucianism is contrasted with Taoism, because on the opposite end, Confucianism emphasizes social order, ethical conduct, and education, which is more of a human-centered focus, but Taoism places greater emphasis on the physical and spiritual cultivation.
Absolutely.
And then of course, you also have Buddhism, which Taoism has some influence. Taoism has influenced Buddhism. Buddhism has influenced Taoism, particularly with its emphasis on spiritual practice and detachment from worldly desires. And that's just in those Chinese systems. But in my study of the Bhagavad Gita, there's some alignment and similarity with detachment from worldly desires, as I'm currently, going through the Bhagavad Gita and studying the principles in that spiritual book, which is associated with the Hindu spiritual system. But in essence, Taoism offers a path to understanding the universe and living a more meaningful and harmonious life by aligning with the natural order represented by the Tao. So that's just some background on Taoism itself. But going back to the book and what's in here, I'll go into some of the descriptions, and then I'll maybe share a couple of the meditations. I've marked quite a few of them. Yeah, let me turn it that way. I marked quite a few of those meditations there, but I'll share a couple of them just so the audience out there could get an idea of how this book is laid out and organized, and how practical this wisdom is, and how you can use it on the day-to-day. But just to describe the book a little bit more, at the top here on the back, it says, place the word Tao into your heart. Use no other words. The Tao is constantly moving, the path that all life in the whole universe takes. There is nothing that is not part of it. Harmonious living is to know and to move with the Tao. It is a way of life, the natural order of things, a force that flows through all life. 365 Tao is a contemporary book of meditations on what it means to be wholly a part of the Taoist way, and thus to be completely in harmony with oneself and the surrounding world. And this comes from the introduction to 365 Tao. Is it possible to see Tao in everyday life, regardless of place or culture? 365 Tao is an attempt to do just that. It is an invitation to enter Tao every day. This is a book that searches for Tao in the immediate and encourages you to explore on your own. That's where true experience lies. So that comes from the introduction. And some information about the author, Deng Ming-Dao. He's the author of many books, including The Living I Ching, Chronicles of Tao, Everyday Tao, and Scholar Warrior. His books have been translated into 15 languages. He studied Qigong, philosophy, meditation, and internal martial arts with Taoist master Kwan Sai-Hung for 13 years and with 2 other masters before that. And this was published by Harper One, and it came out in 1992. This book was published in 1992. And other books by this author, along with the ones that I mentioned in his bio, he also has the Chronicles of Tao trilogy, The Wandering Taoist, 7 Bamboo Tablets of the Cloudy Satchel, and Getaway to a Vast World. And here, so I'll go to the first one I have marked here. And the way that these meditations are organized on the page, and I'll put myself on the full screen so you can see a little better. And I'll take this banner down. So this is how the pages are set up. So there's one meditation on each page, and each one has a title or a theme. So this one on page 26, for July 26, today's date, this is actually the first one I have marked.
No coincidence there. No coincidence.
Yeah, no coincidence there, right? This one is called Adoration. So you see the word adoration up there. And you also see some type of Chinese script here. I'm not sure if it's Mandarin or what, or if this is a single word or a phrase, but it might be that might be explained in the introduction. I haven't, like I said, I haven't picked up this book in some years now, so I will have to go back and read the introduction to see if he explains what these symbols are.
Okay.
But you also have a brief, I guess I call it an expression, like a poetic expression. It looks like it's set up in lines in the stanza here. So each one of these meditations has a particular title and theme, some type of Chinese script, along with a poetic expression here. And this one is called Adoration. And it says, oh, let me start with the expression at the top. It says, images on the altar or imagined within. We pray to them, but do they answer? Question mark. The wise tell us how important adoration is. So we kneel before altars, give offerings, and make sacrifices. In our meditations, we are taught to see gods within ourselves and to make supplications to receive power and knowledge. This we do with great sincerity until the masters say that there are no gods. Then we are confused. The statue on the altar is mere wood and gold leaf, but our need to be reverent is real. The God within may be nothing but visualization, but our need for concentration is real. The attributes of heaven are utopian conjectures, but the essence of these parables is real. The gods then represent certain philosophies and extraordinary facets of the human mind. When we devote ourselves to gods, we establish communion with these deeper aspects. The thought that we are worshiping symbolism may make us uncomfortable. We are educated to accept only the tangible, the scientific, and the material. We doubt the efficacy of adoring the merely symbolic, and we are confused when such reverence brings about genuine personal transformation. But worship does affect our feelings and thoughts. When the wise say that there are no gods, they mean that the key to understanding all things is within ourselves. External worship is merely a means to point within to the true source of salvation.
I say. Ashe. Yes.
Yes. Yes. So
Beautiful.
that was adoration. I also marked off utilization on page 35, which adds up to an 8 also. So utilization. We also have I also marked off awareness. Outer eyes cannot see themselves. The inner eye is its own reflection.
Nice.
Let's see what else I have here. I have I have 116 marked off, which also adds up to an 8. Page 116. That one is called fulfillment. Accomplish your visions, persevere in your ambitions. Only then can you negate visions and ambitions.
Yes.
Then on 118, guidance. Worship with your conscience. Receive grace with humility. Guide with awareness. Lead with modesty. Resources. Use a mirror in difficult times. You will see both cause and resolution. Dissent on page 140. Old man, dissent is not disloyalty. Be careful before you retaliate. Your steel wrapped in cotton may only be brittle bone wrapped in fat.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
Wrinkles, lines on the face, tattoos of aging. Life is proved upon the body like needle jabs from a blind machine. Subservience, out of season rain, dashes crowns of princely trees. Perplexed travelers ask for reasons, huddling under worn eaves. Pivoting.
It's super poetic.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Yep, I'm reading the poetry, and then I'm just reading the poems. For time, I'm not reading the full meditations, but just to give you a little taste of the Taoist wisdom and philosophy here. This one is called Pivoting. Some days you and I go mad. Our bellies get stuffed full. Hearts break, minds snap. We can't go on the old way, so we change. Our lives pivot, forming a mysterious geometry. Blame. Though others have faults, concentrate on your own.
Absolutely.
Superstition. The voices of ghosts are so familiar, they whisper to me every day. You, so young and rich, make assumptions with absolute assurance. I vacillate between superstition and tradition. You don't need to question. Truth. There are 3 levels of truth: experience, reasoning, and knowing. All other assertions should be rejected.
Now that's one you should put in the description when you put that one down there.
Okay, let me save this page. That's 161. So
I like that one.
Page, 161.
Which is the 8.
Yeah. Yep. Navigation. Do you know where you are on your journey?
Very nice question to revisit often.
Yep. Oh yeah, for sure. Because sometime you lose your way. Sometimes obstacles jump in the path. Sometimes you have to recalibrate. So yeah, absolutely. Sage. Ancient sages lived in forests and wandered from village to village, sharing openly, teaching the people without profit or ownership.
That part.
Indeed.
Now you know what? You know what though? He couldn't do that in his own land.
Oh,
He couldn't
yeah.
do that in his own land. He only appreciated when he goes somewhere else. They feed him, they clothe him, they house him, everything, because he there giving of himself. Think of how many people try to do that every day where they are, and it falls on deaf ears. So absolutely. It speaks to that. It speaks to the whole understanding of the traveler.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Indeed. Indeed. Yeah, I'm going to skip a couple of these because I didn't realize how many of these I marked. Goodness. So I'm going to skip through a couple of these.
I could have told you that, Mr. Westbrook.
Yeah. I'm going to skip a couple of these. But, but just to give a couple more. Cultivation. Imagine a sculpture you work on every day. If you stop, the beauty will slowly go away.
Mm.
All right, so I'm going to skip into the 200s and deep into the 200s and go to focus on page 282. Two chess masters confront each other without music, chorus, or sound. Chairs do not squeak. Audience does not talk. Why then do people meditate carelessly? And all right, we got. All right, okay. I'll do four more. I'll do the last four here. Do the last four. Transformation. You hurt me years ago. My wounds bled for years. Now you are back, but I am not the same. Hold on. Let me go. Let me go back. Let me go back to that one. Let me go back to that one. All right.
He said, "Wait a minute. Let me rewind now."
Yeah. Because you said, All right. So in the past, warriors fought by striking the same points that acupuncturists use.
Of course. Have you not seen the spot mine and the spot just pinching the neck and he just fall out? Come on now.
Oh yeah.
They came from somewhere. Old karate movies on Saturday, they paralyze you by hitting you in your points. Come on now. You know we know.
Some pressure points.
Love it. Love it.
One famous swordsman nearly died in the duel in which his opponent attacked him in such a way. After that, the swordsman became a wanderer and tried to renounce the martial life. Years later, his enemy found him and challenged him to duel again. They fought. In the first flurry of blows, the aggressor stepped back in surprise. The swordsman smiled and said, "I trained for 20 years to move my vulnerable spots." With that, he was finally able to triumph. Spirituality is a process of inner healing. The wounds of the past can be the greatest obstacles for self-cultivation unless we find them all and heal them.
That part.
This task can take years, but we must accomplish it. In many cases, our wounds were inflicted by other people, enemies. This is subtle. Our enemies can be others on the street or people much more intimate with us. Parents, teachers, siblings, lovers, friends. If we move away from such people and succeed in our practice, they will have no chance to come back in our lives. How can they? We change whatever made us vulnerable in the first place.
Thank you.
Yep. Transformation. Transformation.
Yes. Transformation. And pressure points.
And pressure points.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And pressure points, and moving them around, moving it around. All of that is that is something to meditate on.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Growth. A moving door hinge never corrodes. Flowing water never grows stagnant.
Okay.
I got two more. The last two that I marked. 326. Mysticism. All mystical traditions are one. They are the seed of all religions.
Agreed.
Oh, let me read this. Let me read this one too. Because
now y'all see why we do unread and we go back and revisit books. Because we're like, this was a good one. Let me get back into that thing.
Yeah. And I read this before unread. So this is touching on previous offerings that we've covered in unread.
Yes, you could read a book from high school and get a whole nother understanding. So
right.
yes, this is why we do what we do, y'all. Books are not disposable. Let it be
That's
known.
right. So this one says Tao, Zen, Tantra, Yoga, Kabbalah, Sufi, Mystic Christianity, Shamanism, and so many more secretly treasured by their adherents. These all share the same mystical sense of communion with the divine. Meditation is not something peculiar to one culture. All cultures know a mystical core that emphasizes continuing refinement, meditation, and unification with the greater cosmos. I call the greater order Tao. They call it by different names. What does it matter what people call it? When they discover what was holy, they uttered different sounds according to their history and culture, but they all discovered the same thing. There is only one divine source in life. For generations, mystics of all traditions have plunged into Tao. When they meet on the unutterable levels, they know without words what they have reached the same core of spirituality. No matter where in the world you are, there are traditions with the purity to lead you to Tao.
Ashe. I love that. I love that. Thank you for sharing that one. That is such a wonderful reminder. And I really commend you on going in and continuing to do your comparative studies, because this is, you find the gems floating around. They just there. Right. It's like a treasure hunt. You know what I mean? Like, who doesn't love a good treasure hunt? So, especially when the ultimate treasure is the full you. What?
That's right. That's right. Now. That's right. Yeah. See, now what I was saying about the previous offerings, see now, especially with that last one that I read about mysticism, now I can go and pull left-hand path off the shelf now.
Hey. Stop reading my bookshelf.
Hey, it's on my bookshelf now.
I know that's right.
Yep. And then okay, we got wisdom here. A white-haired couple sits on the park bench, reading the paper, discussing the day's news. He repeats a poem learned in his youth. She finishes the stanza as he nods in pleasure. At twilight, the air seems clearer than noon. And then moderation here. I said I was only gonna read one more, but moderation is right next to it. All right. Alternate between the solitary and the social, whether alone or with others, keep serenity. Yeah.
And what number was that one? Just interested.
Yeah, so moderation was page 337. So, or in other words, day 337.
Day 337.
Yep.
Wow.
Learning is the fountain of youth. No matter how old you are, you mustn't stop growing.
Yes.
Simplicity. I turned to the simplicity one, and see, this is, mind you, I read this before I met you, and before you started using one of the words that you use.
See,
and look at this word. Look at this word that I circled here. Let me put on the full screen.
Pull it up. I love confirmations.
Look at this word that I circled right here.
I can't quite see. You have to enlighten me on that one.
Rigmarole.
Rigmarole. Hey, I'm always talking about the rigmarole. Thank you, mommy. Shout out.
and mind you, what in the first sentence it's a question. It says, why go through all this rigmarole?
That part, yo. I've been hearing that since I was a little girl.
And this one is called simplicity. Why go through all this rigmarole? Why endlessly examine scriptures and debate obscure actions of long dead saints and equally dead words? We need to affirm experience over words, individuality over dogma. After all this study of Tao, there should only be this simple conclusion. There is only us and Tao. No, more simple still is to be Tao itself. Then everything that is Tao is us. Those who follow Tao reduce everything in complexity until they reach the final irreducible conclusion. You are Tao. When you can be that without any contradictions, then you have truly achieved sublime simplicity.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow. All the rigmarole. Why go through it? You
So,
know, I definitely can relate to that on the level of, much like any person when they find something new and they trying to share it with this person or that person, and they get all caught up in these heated debates and, you know, back and forth, and it's like, nah, man, just leave it, let it be, leave the rigmarole over there, just go be you, do you, you know what I'm saying, become you, the full, well, know who you are, because you already that, you just got to get there.
That's right.
You know,
that's right. So you know what? I'm gonna close out, and then you know what? I'll come back after you get done, because your offering relates to cancer season. So after you get done, I'll round it off by talking about water. You know, since cancer is that water. You know, so I'll come back and because I think I only had those. Yeah, I only had clarifying, water, and breath that I have marked left. So I'll come back at the end, but I'll just close out by also sharing that this book also provides an appendix, and in the appendix you have a guide for daily reading, and it says the entries of 365 Tao are keyed to the seasons. But since the seasons differ in the two hemispheres, the list below will assist in coordinating equivalent days. Note, of course, that the concordances of equinoxes and solstices are not perfect. Those who follow Tao no doubt delight in this imperfection. Nature's course is perfect. It is up to us to follow. So they have the reading plan. So for this reading plan, Roo, I know you can't see this on here,
right?
Maybe the audience can see this. But it has the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere. It has it starts with January 1st for the northern hemisphere and July 2nd for the southern hemisphere, and it gives you the order in which to read them. So you're not necessarily, I mean, if you follow this guide, you're not necessarily reading the book from cover to cover. It suggests that you jump around,
yes,
to be in accordance with the seasons.
Lovely.
Yep. So, and I think that is all that I wanted to share for this offering. So let me take myself off of solo. So that has been my offering, 365 Tao Daily Meditations by Deng Ming-Dao.
Wow. You know I love refinement. I'm all for it. And in my offering today, you know, we always talk about everything being connected. Yes, and that's how I even came to bringing this offering today, and just listening to you and you sharing those, it made me think about so many ways that everything you said is relevant right now, like now. You know what I mean? Yep. And it's just, you know, I feel so fortunate all the time. And I always let you know, I feel so fortunate that I was chosen to be one of those with eyes to see and ears to hear, because it's a beautiful world over here. It's beautiful. You know what I'm saying? Like it's sometimes it's a lot. You know what I mean? Many times it's a lot. But when you lay the rigmarole down and keep with the simplicity of it all, and see the perfection and imperfection in it, You are able to navigate in a way that frees you. It frees you from the slavery of this world. You know, the prison of this world, if you will. Because four walls don't make a prison. You know what I mean? So thank you so much for bringing that in. You know, that suggested reading section made me think of in some of the study, like Bibles, study, you know, other books of study where they have these line outs with these suggested times of reading or suggested order of reading, because you know it deals with different levels of refinement, which will help you to be able to better utilize, understand, put into practice, you know, the things that you'll experience later. So I love that. It's like meeting a person where they at. I love it. You know, so you meet the season where it's at. You work with the energies that you have, and I really love that.
Yes, thank you, thank you.
Yeah. So
yes. What you got? What you got? I mean, I know what you got, but let the people know what you got because this is
see, I'm
not a
loosening up my
surprise
shoulders.
me.
You see, I'm loosening up my shoulders. That wasn't even intentional for what I'm doing right now. How do I begin? First, let me just say, you know, welcome everybody. If you just tuning in, this is Nick and Roo, UnRead Book Review. We are here every other Saturday. Nick just got finished sharing his wonderful book with us, and I am about to jump in here. But I just wanted to thank you for being here with us and remind you that we love your comments, your feedback, you know, your suggestions. So please make sure that you share those with us so we can continue to share with you the best that we have. So during cancer season, I was able to share two books that kind of dealt with it dealt with a level of nurturing. And we know cancer is mother, water, all these things, just taking time for self-reflection, you know, and refinement. And I was telling someone that when I was younger, much younger, I used to, if somebody told me they was a cancer, I'll run the other way. Like you can't even get two sentences out. Once you tell me you're a cancer, I was like, damn, I don't want no parts of that. And I didn't understand why they used to just irritate me. Like it was something about them that just rubbed me wrong. Later on, I understood that I was very empathic, and the things that I would pick up on are the signals that they would send out through the water, and I am a water bearer. So I was able to pick up these things, some of these subtle things that they were putting out into the universe, whether they knew it or not. I was able to pick it up, and it made me feel a way, and I couldn't understand why I was feeling what I was feeling when it ain't got nothing to do with me. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I just wanted to say that being where I am now, and being able to appreciate the beauty of nurturing, the beauty of cancer season, the beauty of what it offers us an opportunity to do in terms of looking inside and taking time to care for ourselves, taking time to see who's caring for us, who we caring for. All these things are just key element, just key. And recently I talked about the importance of fathers in nature and nurturing that whole process. Unfortunately, many of us come from homes where, you know, there's no father present or no strong or positive male role model. So the benefits of divine masculine nurturing is not there. And this creates energy. It creates a vibration in the household, especially, you know, an impression upon the children. And you know, even men coming and going or women coming and going, that still leaves an impression upon the children. And depending on what that person's energy was like, whether they were kind or brash or rough or depending on that person's approach to that space, it really does shape and mold the nurturing of the people around, even the adults, because like I was explaining last time we came together, nurturing doesn't stop when you become a certain age. Everybody needs to be nurtured all the time. Like this is something you will do, just like everything else I tell you. This is what you're gonna do till you leave here, whether you know it or you don't, whether you participate or not. It's happening, right? And growing up, I was a very like I said, I was known as the worry wart, and so I was always super sensitive, and sensitive in the way of I was rough and tough with my Afro puffs, but I was sensitive in the way of I could pick up energy and I didn't understand it. And so I love sports. And one of my favorite sports besides football is boxing. One of my first jobs I ever got was with a boxing agency. And I loved being around it. I don't know what it was about it. They call it the sweet science, and it intrigued me. And the lives of boxers intrigued me. It wasn't always their performance in the ring that got my attention. Sometimes it was their story itself. Needless to say, the legendary Muhammad Ali, was key not only in the sports world but also in the political and social world as well. So people like that intrigued me. As I grew up, my love for boxing had not changed. It got deeper. and it really took a change when I started watching this guy.
Iron Mike.
When I started watching him, he did something to me that I couldn't quite understand. And he was such a different type of boxer. Like I had seen ambitious boxers, I had seen, just angry boxers. I saw people who was there just for the money to be pretty. I saw people that were there just because it was the place to be at the time, but it was something about him that was different. Like even when I look at this picture and I look at his eyes, I see something. I see something.
I did too when I was looking at it.
Say again?
I said, no, I did too when I was looking at that cover. Yep. Yeah, I did too.
But it's different than this.
Yeah. Yep. Definitely different.
It's different. It's so different. It's, oh my goodness. So I'm trying not to get emotional. During talking about cancer stuff, right? We in Leo season now, so rawr. I'm here. I'm a lion. But so my book, my offering, let me just it's called Mike Tyson, Undisputed Truth. Okay, Mike Tyson, Undisputed Truth.
Yes.
And it's an amazing book. Now this book was gifted to me by someone who knew that I loved boxing and they knew that I had a love for Mike Tyson. So it was a solar return gift one year. Okay. And I'm very grateful for it. And it's matter of fact, it's one of the only I don't have a lot of biographies. It's one of the only ones I have. And I got Bobby Brown. Shout out to my fellow Aquarian. Anyway, but this book came out in 2013, and it is a piece. Okay. Now, like I said, trigger warning. Anybody that knows the life of Mike Tyson know that he was a wild boy. He was a wild boy. And he made no apologies for being a wild boy. So he said what he said, and he meant what he said when he said it. Right? And this book is so raw that I had to put it down a couple of times. Like, man, hold on. You know, let me put this down. But in the dedication, it says, this book is dedicated to all the outcasts, everyone who has ever been mesmerized, marginalized, tranquilized, beaten down, and falsely accused, and incapable of receiving love. Incapable of receiving love. Thought that was that was pretty profound. You know, mesmerized, marginalized, tranquilized, beaten down, falsely accused, incapable of receiving love. And when we talk about nurturing, that's a form of love. And when we talk about a child's upbringing and why they are the people they are today, why we are the people we are today, our nurturing has something to do with that. Mike Tyson never made it a secret that his childhood was tumultuous. You know, it was a lot of goings on, and a lot of people saw who and what he could be, and they used that for their own benefit. And you know, I can't say that I was there. I can tell you some of the things that I've read over the years, some of the things that I've heard over the years, but only people that really know is the people that was there, what their intentions was. But I want to jump in here and say that when I first opened the book after the dedication, in the prologue, it started in bold letters and said, I spent most of the 6 weeks between my conviction for rape and sentencing, traveling around the country, romancing all of my various girlfriends. It was my way of saying goodbye to them. And when I wasn't with them, I was fending off all the women who propositioned me. Everywhere I go, there was some woman who would come up to me and say, come on, I'm not going to say that you raped me. You can come with me and I'll let you film it. I later realized that that was their way of saying, we know you didn't do it. But I didn't take it that way. I'd strike back indignantly and with a rude response. And although they were saying what they said out of support, I was in too much pain to realize it. I was ignorant, mad, and a bitter guy who had a lot of growing up to do. Some of my anger was understandable. I was a 25-year-old kid facing 60 years in jail for a crime I did not commit. You know, I remember when all this was going on. It was filthy McNasty. The headlines, the newspapers, the interviews, the talk shows, the commentaries, the people coming out the woodwork. It was a lot. I can remember being 25, 26 years old. I couldn't have handled all that. I couldn't. The way that his life was about to go, is no way that you could prepare for that. But nurturing would have helped. Okay. And people say, oh, you make it sound so simple. No, I'm not. Believe me, I'm not. He talks about Don King assuring him that he would walk away from the charges. And he said that one of his friends from Chicago even told him about a hoodoo woman who could cast a spell. So he settled on Santeria, a priest to do some witch doctor shit, as he says. We went to the courthouse one night with a pigeon and an egg. I dropped the egg on the ground as the bird was released, and I yelled, "We're free." A few days later, I put on my gray pinstripe suit and went to court. After the verdict had been delivered, my defense team had put together a pre-sentence memorandum on my behalf. It was an impressive document, right? So it says that in the letter, it concluded that he was a sensitive and thoughtful young man with problems more than the result of developmental deficits and then pathology. And that with regular psychotherapy, he was convinced that he could go the long-term prognosis, which would be good. So, you know, I read that part because even then it was pointed out that his problems that was going on right then was much deeper than what people knew. Now, the people who followed boxing had already heard some of these stories about some of the things from his childhood, right? He doesn't talk a whole lot because he goes back and forth. And that's the thing about this book. And I think what even makes it more raw and just sad. You know, I mean, I that's all I can say is sad, but because of the whole of it and how we know it's turned out. Again, this was 2013. This was written. He talking about what happened when he was a kid. By 2013, he had already changed his life. You know what I mean? So because we know what the outcome is, it's like, even though you feel the sadness reading this, you understand that it was part of this process where nurturing is what it was that was missing. He talks about his mother on page 33, and I wanted to say 33 is important. Okay. But he talks about his mom, and he says where he had stole something from the store. That's what he was doing. He was stealing something from the store. He was being arrested. And they called his mom, and his mom didn't have a phone, so they picked her up and brought her to the station. She came in at me and proceeded to beat the shit out of me right there. By the time I was 12, this started to be a common occurrence. I'd have to go to court for these arrests, but I wasn't going to jail because I was a minor. I used to hate when my mother would get to the precinct and beat my ass. Afterwards, her and her friends would get drunk, and she'd talk about how she beat the shit out of me. I'd be curled up on the corner trying to shield myself, and she'd attack me. That was some traumatizing shit. And to this day, I glance at the corners of any room I'm in, and I have to look away because it reminds me of all the beatings my mother gave me. I'd be curled up in the corner trying to shield myself, and she'd attack me. She didn't think nothing of beating me in the grocery store, in the street, in front of my schoolmates, in front of the courtroom. And the police certainly didn't care. One time they were supposed to write up a report on me and my mother, and my mother stormed in and beat my ass so bad that they didn't even write me up. She even beat me when I was in the right sometimes. Once when I was 11, I was shooting dice on the corner and I was up against a guy who was about 18. I had a hot hand that day and my friends were betting on the side that I'd hit my numbers. I got down to $200, but I hit my number 6 straight times. Remember them sixes?
Yep.
I had won $600. Shoot one more time. Shoot for my watch, he said. And boom, I hit a 456. And he says that the dude said, give me your watch. And then he said, I ain't giving you nothing. And he tried to snatch the money from him. And he started biting him. I hit him with a rock and we started brawling. Some of my mother's friends saw the commotion and ran to our apartment. Your son is fighting with a grown man, one of them said. My mother came storming over. All the other grown men were there letting us fight because they wanted their money. If this guy didn't pay, nobody else was going to. So I was in the middle of fighting this guy and my mother jumped on me and grabbed my hands, smacked me and threw me down. And she said, what are you fighting this man for? It says, what do you want with this man? I'm sorry, sir, she said to him. And he tried to take back his money. He says, my mother took the money and gave it to the man and smacked me in my face. He said, I'm sorry. She said, I'm sorry, sir. And he says, I'm going to kill you, MF. And I yelled as she pushed me away and said, I deserved every beating I got. I just wanted to be one of the cool kids. The kid on the street that had jewelry on and money in their pockets. The older kids, the 15-year-olds who had girlfriends. I wasn't really into girls that much, but I liked having the clothes and getting all the attention. By then, my mother was giving up on me. She was well known in the neighborhood and knew how to speak eloquently when she needed to. Her children had the capacity to learn to get along with others, but then there was me. I was the only one who couldn't read, couldn't write. I couldn't grasp that stuff. Why can't you do this? She said to me, what's wrong with you? She must have thought I was retarded. And she had taken me to all those places on Lee Avenue when I was a baby, and I undergo psychological evaluations. When I was young, I talked to myself out loud. I guess that wasn't normal. I could go on and on about what he says after this, the medication that they put him on and all these things like that. But the one thing I want to point out is on page 46, he says, someone says to him, your mind is not your friend, Mike. And I hope you know that. You have to fight with your mind to control it and put it in its place. You have to control your emotions. You know, Mike had a lot of people in his life, and he still does. But all of them didn't always want the best for him. And some can say, well, how can you say that you weren't there? If they did, they would have took him out of boxing. Because early on, it was known that there was something more going on. There was an anger so deep. There was a need for repair so deep, a need for affection and love so deep that while he got it on the surface, he needed more. In this book, he had some pictures. So if you could give me that swing up
got
screen. He has some pictures of his mother and his father. And that's him at 9 years old. Don't he look like Bobby Brown?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
And that's the only other biography. I'm not new to this. I'm true to this, y'all. Anyway, this is him at 13.
What, at the bottom there?
The bottom one.
13.
13.
Stop playing.
No. Yo, it says me at 13 years old. He looked all of 25.
That's what I'm saying.
This is him up here in the mountains. That's up here in the Catskills.
Okay.
And look at the look on his face.
Yep.
He really, really needed love. He wanted love. Like anywhere he could get it. And in 85, when Cuz died, you could look in at his face there. He was lost.
Yeah.
He became lost. You know, he spent a lot of times with his pigeons, which even that in itself has some interesting energy to go with it. Now, excuse me, I dropped my bookmark. Oh, everybody that did not get their bookmarks from UnRead, you better pick them up while they're hot. Go to the link in my IG bio. You can get yours, all kinds, different designs, different colors. I asked you to remember those 6 and those 3s because I had some notes that I wanted to share. Y'all know I always got notes.
Yeah,
so
yes, you do. 6 and 3s.
Mike Tyson was born, and you know, Nick, I was so tempted to fall into the rabbit hole. No, not fall, jump into the rabbit hole.
Oh boy.
Jump into the rabbit hole.
Oh boy.
When I started doing the maths. When I started doing the maths, I was like, oh, I done touched on to something here, boy. I done touched something.
Boy, here we go.
Okay. So he was born June the 30th, 1966.
Okay.
Right?
Uh-huh.
And he competed between 1985 and 2024. And his full name, his given name is Michael Gerard Tyson.
Okay.
So I was watching the math.
Yeah.
And I was thinking to myself, for the bonus, maybe we'll just go in and we'll talk a little bit about his chart and stuff, because I wasn't going to try to do that all today. But what I'll say is, for those who study astrology and numerology, you know that you can look at a person's chart and see about their nurturing situation.
Yes,
and their relationship with their mother and their relationship with their father. And you can get quite the picture.
Yes, you can.
So for those who want to dive into that with me and Nick, you might want to come on over when we talking about that. But it's so much here that I can't even begin to really unpack it as to say, this is why nurturing is so important. This is why I won't stop that call for nurturing, because, his situation is common. And the viciousness and things that he endured and then imposed upon others, impressed upon others, is, you see where it began.
Yeah.
You see where it began. I said that there was a trigger on this because many of us have some of those experiences. Either the predator or the prey. Because people think that the predators walk around forever being predators. Trust me, they prey. They are prey too. And trust me, like my mama said, what goes around comes back double. Feel me? But I want to go back to the most tumultuous, well, one of the most tumultuous public things, which was this whole rape case that he went through. I remember, and this is when I realized I was connecting to him on a different level. And I don't mean connecting in some weird kind of way, just that I could relate to his story, you know. Like it's just stories, it's people's stories that you can just, like, I relate to Job, you know what I'm saying? Trust me, many of us do. But I was watching an interview, and he was just kind of like out of it, you know, just he wasn't talking smack like he usually do in his interviews, because we all know he got thousands of interviews, but you know, he wasn't talking smack in this particular one. He was just like very, you know. And I remember him talking about wanting to kill himself, and that, out of everything he said, that caught my ear. And, you know, I used to tell people that's a sad man, because he said that he would kill himself and start all over again so he could do it right. You know what I mean? So he could be better. And, you know, I thought about, I don't, again, like I said, out of everything he said in that interview, that was the thing that stood out to me. Maybe it was because I understood that energy. Maybe because I had lived that energy. But whatever it wasn't like I was feeling sorry for him because of, you know, oh, he did this thing and now he in trouble and now he contemplating. I'm like, he always felt that way. That wasn't a new feeling. You can hear it in the way that he said it. This is what he thought all along. When he was getting those beatings as a young child, he was ready to leave here. When he was balled up in the corners, trying to protect himself, he wanted to leave here. Divine masculine, divine feminine nurturing in that time in his life was absent. It was not there. He was not protected. And we ask ourselves, when we do things like the Human Rights Week, and we talking about unmasking morality and things like that, we talk about, well, how did the child end up like that? That's how. And then you have people that come along and exploit them. Okay? Want to read something else to you here. So in the link, in the description below, Nick is going to put down there the link for one of Mike Tyson's interviews. It's one, you know, it's so many of his interviews that you can go to and pull real gems from, but this one right here I think is a really good one. So he's going to link that down in the bottom, and I just want to read something from the transcripts for you, if I may. He talks about knowing what inner peace is. So the mask that hold us back from inner peace, we take out on our loved ones, close to everyone in our family, our children, and our friends. Everyone around us suffers when we wear the mask, absolutely. So yeah, that's why I wrote the book, because I was achieving at every level and I was making millions, right? He talked about playing professional football. He said, but I was suffering inside. And I knew if I didn't change, I wouldn't have a family and my kids wouldn't respect me. And I was in the verge where my kids almost didn't respect me anymore. And it frightened me so much how they didn't work, how they did when they didn't feel that, when I didn't feel that I was respected. He said, I felt like dying. Again, right back Right back to that. And I wanted to kill myself. In the transcript, minute 5:13. Right? 8. It's 8. You know what the 8 is, Nick? You know.
Yep, that infinity.
You know what it is?
Build and
I
destroy.
felt like dying. I wanted to kill myself. Yeah. He said I didn't want to live anymore. And that was a big wake-up call for me. And that's when I began to shift. You know, I remember sitting watching that interview and saying to myself, you know, that man need help. You know, he and not just oh, let me come in and try to psychotherapy you, because that wouldn't have worked. That wouldn't have worked. He talked about how he became who he is, who he was in the ring, and how he didn't like that person. He said before a fight, he would cry. And they said he was known for this. Before a fight, he would cry. And somebody asked him, why was he crying before the fight? And he said, because the person I'm about to become, I don't like him. How heavy is that? He said, they say he would cry before going in there because he said he was going to transform into somebody he did not like, just to keep the people happy. You know, dancing for the people, trying to get the love of the people, trying to feel something. He talked about in this interview that you'll take a look at the bottom, and make sure that when you take a look at that video, you tag me and Nick from UnRead so they know we are sharing this video and letting people know that this is one of the greatest interviews he ever did. I loved it. I loved everything about it. You know, but you know, he talked about an ego. And he said Cus gave him an ego. He said he gave him one. He helped him build the monster. And, you know, we've all heard the old proverb about, you know, what grows inside of a person is what you feed inside of them and what you nurture inside of them. So, see, they sort of benefit of nurturing the monster. They sort of benefit of nurturing the pain. They sort of benefit of nurturing the fear. He said he was afraid. He said he can't even look in corners of rooms. So in nurturing that monster in him, this is what was created. It wasn't who he was. It's what he had to become in order to feel safe. And how many of us can say that some of the decisions we've made haven't been because we just wanted to feel safe? We are not always pleased with some of the things that we've done. And this is to say that, A, the nurturing aspect, learning how to recognize what hasn't been nurtured inside of us and learning what to do with that now. Because we can't go back. You know, Nick, I'm a big person on that. You can't go pointing fingers at everybody. You have to do the work now. And that's one of the things that I love about what we see in him now. And even in this interview, he says at minute 26:59, he said the conduct of one is the conduct of all of us, the faith of all of us. And he says when they asked him about all the women that he had been with, he said he wasn't proud of that. He said because I didn't even know why I was doing that. I didn't know what the purpose was. And the man went on to ask him, he's like, was you trying to fulfill something? He said, no. He said, I wanted those women to love me because I didn't love myself. He said, I don't love myself. I got to let them love me. My love was to make right or to tell me that I was great. And so, I mean, I could go on and on because this book, you know, this book and this interview, I think is a great representation of, the importance of continuing to do nurturing. One of the pictures I want to share is this one.
Get it on the full screen. There you go.
I don't know. I can't.
Yeah, right there. Right there. Yeah, don't move. Don't move. Stay right there.
Okay. So for those of you who don't know who that is a young Maya Angelou visiting him in prison. And if you see the smile on his face, you'd have to look really close in there. You see something in there. You see what I'm saying? You see something in there, and just being in proximity to the divine feminine, he looked lighter. Mind you, he in jail.
Right.
Probably got gazillions of people coming to see him. But it was something about this picture that was so motherly to me. And the fact that this is one of the ones he chose to put in here and talk about, I think that speaks volumes. He, in some of the interviews that he talked about becoming a killer, murder. I want to eat you. I want to eat your children. He says, that man said some crazy that told you he was a wild boy when he get ready to go into that ring. But he was also this.
Oh, hold it. Okay.
He's also this. This is where he was on his way to. And it shows him with his therapist. We are going to talk about that part. When you saw him with his therapist. Yeah. And then they had some pictures of him and his children and his beautiful wife Kiki. And a beautiful picture of him. I think this is a great picture of him. That one was from 2012, talking about his life, family, and career. And I like I said, I can go on and on about this, and I'm just going to keep running back and forth talking about the nurturing and how all of that could have made such a difference in the man that we got to see. But in order to be the man that he is, he had to go through what he had to go through, as all of us do. But I will say that don't underestimate the power of nurturing in a child's life and the continuous need for nurturing in our own lives. I really cannot place enough emphasis on the fact that we have to continue to keep going inside. And that's why, the book that you brought this week, I thought it was so relevant because, that is an opportunity to explore inside and even end up addressing some of those core issues that, have caused us to, feel pain or have blockages or have places in our lives where we just stumbling blocks. Some of us have these stumbling blocks. Again, I refer back to his dedication of this book. He dedicated it to people who are incapable of receiving love. This man thought he was incapable of receiving love. He was paying for love anywhere he can go. He was scaring people for love for any way he can get it. But all he really wanted was to be loved. He wanted to understand love. He wanted to know love. And through his children and through, the women who I guess were able to see through, the other, and love him, even though he didn't love himself. All of those nurturing opportunities were important, and he had to not only realize that it was nurturing that he needed. But when he said he thought about losing the respect of his children, it changed everything. He goes on in that interview, for that YouTube interview, to talk about the death of his ego and laying that down. And that's when he talks about where he got it from. But again, it would just really behoove us all to do some inner searching. Everybody has their methods and their ways. And again, I'm so glad you brought that book. And people utilize these books. Take a look at these books, and take what works for you. You might find a worthy lesson inside of it, a line that changes everything for you. So I'm grateful for the cancers. I'm grateful for the people who make us feel our feelings. And and I'm grateful that he found some kind of peace, because truly, from the worst places, we find some of the best people. And maybe it's being in these horrible conditions that create these softer, loving, more apt to want to give people. But it also creates the opposite. Is some people can't get out of that cycle. He talked about falling back into some of his old ways after after getting his life together. He talked about orgies in his house, and just using drugs and all these different things. And these are all forms of escapism. And he talks about, really knowing who your friends are when you face adversity. And I think we can all relate to that. How we got all the friends in the world until, we really need them. And that, for somebody who was not nurtured and cared for or made to feel safe, you can only imagine how that reinforces that. That reinforces it and makes them, or should I say, reminds them of how they used to deal with it, and asking yourself, why even bother if it's going to be the same. But like I said, I would love to talk more about this, in a bonus video, because again, a lot of the stuff that he talks about can get quite graphic, but I think it's necessary. I think this is a well-written book. Like I said, it's very raw. He's a person that writes like he talk like I do, so I could relate to that. But it comes across heavy, and it almost comes across sometimes as if he wasn't remorseful, but it he wasn't able to feel. He wasn't able to feel, and but he was feeling everything. If for those who understand that, he wasn't able to feel, but he was feeling everything. So, my offering this week, Undisputed Truth, our beloved brother, Mike Tyson. I am Mike. I know one of the best fighters I have ever seen with my own eyes. One of the most amazing hero journeys that I've ever seen. Truly an inspiration in terms of just knowing that some of the people we have in this world that seem almost totally lost, they still have hope too, because this brother came a long way, like a long way. Mike Tyson, y'all. Undisputed Truth, great book. This is one that I will keep in my library always because it is well written, it is raw, it is real, it is it is a hell of a story and a hell of a journey. And I continue to um send high positive vibrations to him and his family because they've endured a lot. So yeah,
Yeah,
shout out and blessings to the God, to the blessings to the God. That's my offering.
yeah, beautiful, beautiful. And
Yeah.
shout out to Larry Sloman too. Who
Yes.
helped them. Yep, helped them express
Yes,
himself.
absolutely, absolutely.
To to get that well written element while
Yes.
maintaining Mike's voice at the same
Yes,
time.
yes, yes. Um, Larry Sloman is best known for Howard Stern's collaborator on Private Parts in Miss America. Sloman's recent books include the Secret Life of Houdini with magic theorist William Kalash, Mystery Stranger with magician David Blaine, Scar Tissue, the memoir of Red Hot Chili Peppers, lead singer Anthony Kiedis, and he says so he's this is what he do. He helped folks get their story out there. So yes, thank you for that
Mhm.
reminder, brother. I appreciate that.
Yes, 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 absolutely, absolutely. So does this being that you gain so much insight, especially with this topic of nurturing that is so important to us and that we've talked about on repeated occasions. Does this memoir slash autobiography? Well, this is it's actually autobiography. Does this autobiography kind of encourage you or persuade you to get into more autobiographies since you have very few of those in your library?
Um, you know, I love people's stories. Um, I think that's why I love live events so much because you get to interact with people and hear their stories. Um, you know, many times, uh, as my mama say, hearing from the horse's mouth, you look at things a whole lot different. And I think that's the thing with celebrity life is that they create this image and they put it out there, and and that's what it is. And so you never really get to hear the whole story until something either go wrong or the person is dead or something like that. So yeah, I think if I was interested to know more about particular people, celebrities and stuff like that, I would. I tend to be very interested in current people's situations, people who are doing things to move forward with humanity, revolutionaries, um things like that. So sometimes you don't always get that hero's journey, but I definitely could see how having more in my library would help me to even tap into some more topics, and it does encourage me to want to get a few more. Like I said, I have Bobby Brown, I have a couple more like Josephine Baker stories on, you know, um, you know, obviously Martin Luther King, Malcolm. You got all the regulars.
Mm-hmm.
But this time, like I said, with the boxing thing and with sports, period, any of the autobiographies I have for sports, because I have a couple of football players, coaches. You know, I yeah, it makes me. I don't know. It just is something about it. It has to be something about the person that makes me want to come looking because again, like everything else I've learned, when I'm drawn to something, it's something there for me to look at. And Nick, you and I have talked on so many occasions about so many topics. And, you know, one of my ones in my radical transparency rants, you know, I talked about, you know, my own childhood and having one of my adult children point out to me that I needed more nurturing when I was a child, that I needed more softness, that I got a lot of hard and I did not get a lot of soft. And it was apparent in me. And I, you know, and I was kind of taken aback that they were able to even see that after this long journey that I've been on, because, you know, I'm not new to this transformative journey. I started this journey when I was 20, fresh 21 years old. My youngest son is 27, you know, and so, you know, I've been on this journey for a long time. And the fact that my children can pick up on those things and see those things and be like, wow, I'm sorry, you know, you didn't get blah, blah, blah when you needed it. And yeah. And I'm like, well, how you even know that? You know, because it leaves scars, it leaves marks, you'll know. You know what I'm saying? And I can, and you know, I think about some of the decisions I've made in life, and some, you know, and the reason I made them. And it was because I was seeking protection and softness in places that it just wasn't, you know. But because I was um uh subjected to seeing it in those spaces, I thought that's where it was. So yeah, I when I read these books, you know, a lot of times when I'm drawn to them, it makes me look deeper within. So I would definitely look at some. I would definitely put some more on my shelf. You know, we are always looking for more reasons to go. So definitely I can see myself getting some more, you know. And Maya Angelou is actually one of the people whose stories you know, I resonated with deeply. So yeah, I definitely would put some more on my shelf.
It's great. It's great. Yeah, I have quite a few myself, but it's been a while since I've read any for, you know, for myself, you know, not counting what I read as a part of my job, my career, because that's I'll be reading another one of those memoirs for. I mentioned that summer reading book earlier at the beginning of the show, but as far as like reading autobiographies, biographies, and memoirs for myself, not counting the reading that I do for school, it's been a while since I've read any myself. So
Right.
yeah.
You know, I you know what, I think that's interesting too, because that kind of speaks to, I think, why those books weren't like first in my choices. Because, you know, growing up, you do, when you're made to read, you know, a lot of times it's about these other people's lives, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And you just the same ones over and over again. Like I said, the usual suspects, you know. And so I think now with more people becoming more open about their real stories and not the one that they telling, you know, I think we'll see a lot more, you know. And you know, just a little um religious you know, quip here. It says in the last days, you know, that verily they will confess their sins. And you see a lot of people coming clean about a lot of things, you know. In the past 15 20 years, you've seen a lot of people coming mad clean about it. Like, look, I did this. Before you find out, I did this right here. And you know, I think that a lot of that has to do with, you know, obviously the cosmic shift in maturity and accountability, and people realize, you know, people doing work and realizing that there's a lot to forgive ourselves for, you know, to forgive ourselves for, and that can't be done without some deep introspection and some being real about what your life really was, and not the story that everybody think it is. So I appreciate these books, and I think that's, even though, like I said, his book is very raw, and he be saying some stuff sometimes like with, like, you know, I be like, it's almost like he bragging, you know what I mean, on his viciousness and his in the monster type behavior that he was, you know, inflicting upon people. But it's raw. He telling the truth. Yeah. He like, this is what was really going on in me. No filter. This is it. It was ugly in there. Yeah. It was ugly in there, and I couldn't control it. That's why I read that line that told him, his friend that said to him, your mind is not your friend, and you need to know that, because you are not doing well, my friend. But you got to be able to, you got to face that. You got to stand down. How the young folks say, 10 toes down? You got to stand down on that. You got to face it. Yeah. And I think that's the thing. Right. You get a lot of these books, and it's full of puff and, and, you know, they're 9 cribs and they're $70 million, and, you know, and it's a lot of puff and sunshine and sparkles. This book is raw. It make you want to be like just the cussing alone. You know what I mean? Just the cussing alone. You be like, all right, well, like I said, he write like he write like he talk. I could relate to that. But that's also real. And you feel it. Yep, you do. You know what I'm saying? You feel it. You feel his hurt when he talking about his mother kicking him in corners, attacking him for no reason. Now we this is not attacking her, but this is saying we don't even know what would happen to her. What was wrong with her? How she was code switching on him right there while it was happening, talking eloquently. Remember, that's what he said. That's the word he used. That she was able to be eloquent in front of the people to make it look like he was just this crazy monster. And asking him blatantly, what's wrong with you? You know? Not seeing that it was all a part of his lack of nurturing. And him doing what he had to do to survive. Doing what he had to do to feel protected. How many of us have done something we didn't want to do to feel protected, to feel safe? You know? Let alone to get what we wanted or needed. So, yeah, I think the real raw books will always be the ones that'll get my attention. I don't want the fluff.
Yeah, no, yeah.
And I like current people's stories too. Like the dude down the street, I want to know what's going on with him. What was his life like? The sister that work at the Dunkin' Donuts with the black eye, I want to know what was going on with her. I want to see her write a story.
Yeah, yep. And I also, I've also made a point to, just over the years, like I said, it hasn't been recent, but over the years of me collecting people's stories, to not only collect those of well-known people, but when these everyday people, put their story in print and they share it, I try to support as well. I definitely have a couple of those in my library as well.
I do too.
Yeah. So for sure.
People that nobody would ever even know, you know what I mean? And everybody has a story in there. Everybody has one book. Your book. Your book, because you was there. Right. You was there.
Yeah, nobody can tell it better than you can.
What? Listen, when I hear gossip about me, you know what I tell people? I be like, man, if you think that was hot, I can tell you some stuff you don't know. Yeah, right. I can tell you some stuff that really get you going. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
Woo, I know some stuff. I was there. But this, like I said, man, I think about my own journey. And that's part of why why his story resonates with me as well, is I think about the journey I've been on and how the person that we see right now sitting here is a whole different person than the person I was, and definitely the person I would have been had I not, taken a different path. Just, I was fortunate to know early on that refinement was needed. Research and refinement was needed. And it always will be. And I dedicate myself to researching myself and refining myself and being an example. Just being an example for that of the benefits of refinement,
Mm-hmm.
and not martyrdom and all these other things, because people want to be remembered for different things. If I was remembered for anything, I want people to always know that it was always about me trying to be the best version of myself, and put that forward and show other people that this is lifelong work, babe. This is forever ever.
That's right.
This is forever ever.
That's right. That's right. Yep. And then, in closing, as you said, how related our books are.
Yes.
That path, that journey along the way, that Tao, that spiritual cultivation, it's definitely ongoing. It's definitely ongoing. It's perpetual. It's a journey and not a destination. So.
Woo.
Yeah.
I want to say about your book too. One of the things I like about books like that one, the setup of it, is by the time you finish that book, even if you followed the steps the way they suggest, or if you went through it page by page, by the time you get to that page again, you'll be different.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll mean something different, and it'll hit different, and you'll think of something. And I smile because anybody who ever say they bored ain't never took no time to sit down with it. So, because baby, you'll stay busy in there.
Mm-hmm.
You'll stay busy in there.
Yes, you will. Yes, you will.
You'll stay busy in there.
Yes, you will.
So yeah, man. Thank you. And again, y'all, that book is not for everybody, but it is. I really suggest that as reading for people. Like, and even if you don't want to read the book, go look at his interviews and just watch the progression of who he is right now. He a whole lot different, but he also tell you that that person is not far away. Not far away. You got to keep them at bay all the time. So that's a reminder for all of us. It's never no day where you be like, I'll never go back to that.
Right.
You better watch yourself now.
Yeah.
Watch yourself. Closer than you think, my friend. Or a worse version, because now you got some smarts about you. What I'm saying?
Yeah, that part. Yeah.
Now you think you have fast slick. You know what I'm saying? I can beat the system. Okay, go for it. Go ahead, play the game if you want to. So yeah, thank you for letting me long wind that one out, because I just in this ending of nurturing season, I look at the youth right now, and it's so much nurturing needed, man. We gonna have everybody's not gonna become super rich and famous and be able to have their need for therapy and everything highlighted. For every one of him that gets out of the hood, it's like 9 that don't, and they just be monsters terrorizing us for no goddamn reason until the day they die. Beating up old ladies, taking candy from babies, all the things. You know what I'm saying? Just wilding out. And we see it more now than ever. And we have a responsibility and a duty, even if this don't have to be your child.
Right.
It's a child in your proximity, man. You see this with your own eyes going on. These young women and these young men need guidance.
Yeah.
That's nurturing, divine feminine, divine masculine. They need softness. They need discipline.
Mm-hmm.
This is what nurturing is: divine masculine, divine feminine. I can't say it enough. That's what nurturing is, and I'm very, very adamant on expressing that. Just as a child in the world, as a mother, as a grandmother, as a person just watching the world become what it's becoming, I'm like, yo, we gotta do something, because we fading fast.
Whew. Yeah. Yep. Yep. That is real.
Absolutely.
That is real. Well,
so that's it for me, Nick.
I guess I'll close out with
Yes.
you know, with this cancer water connection here.
Please
you know,
do.
Yep. You know, so this comes from day number 349, and this meditation is called Water. Then you can meditate on this, think about our two offerings for this episode, how they relate to this theme of nurturing also. So starting with the poetic reflection here: drops, water cleanses, gathers in the earth, tender, invasive, subtle, emerges a shining river. When small, it is weak. When great, it tumbles mountains, rendering great cliffs, sand. Classic wisdom says that there is nothing weaker than water, yet when united, it can become a titanic force, like a tidal wave or a river that cuts through gorges. This is called the yielding overcoming the hard. Let's look at it another way. Water does not overcome because it yields. It overcomes because it is relentless. It perseveres and does not give up. It is constant. Rock can block water. Rock can even hold water in a lake for thousands of years. Why can't the yielding overcome the hard then? Because it cannot move. It cannot work its magic of being relentless. Just as water must be able to express its true nature in a relentless way, so too must we simultaneously and relentlessly express our true natures if we are to be successful in life. Otherwise, we will find ourselves hemmed in by the hard walls of reality, and we will never be able to break through. But how do we acquire such perseverance? We start small, as drops.
That part, drop the mic. Pow, pow. Yes. Consistency. Pressing on.
Mm-hmm. Starting small. Starting small, letting it grow.
The drop. That's all it takes.
That's all it takes. It's just a drop.
You know, I don't know about anybody else, but if you ever had a leaky faucet or sink and you just hear that constant, that's enough right there to make you move.
Mm-hmm. That's right. That's
you know
right.
what I'm saying? That's enough to make you move. Hearing that constant drop, but knowing that that's all it takes. You know, Grand Canyon, they say, is a great example of that, right?
Yes, it is.
So, but yeah, man, great offerings this week. I feel fulfilled, and I hope everyone paying attention here with us on this Saturn Day episode of UnRead, you have enjoyed yourself, because I have. You have, Nick. I have. I know I have.
Oh,
and I think we put some offerings that were timely, and definitely we see why we got them on our shelves, and we are recommending to you. This is Sister Roo, MaWu Lisa Temple, beautiful upstate New York, Hudson Valley. Like I said, reach out to us here or Instagram. Share your comments. Share your book reviews. Share. Listen. Did one of these books relate to you? Can you relate to one of them? Do you have one of these books? What's your thoughts on it? We want to know all these things because we're not here to talk at you. We're here to share with you and interact in community because that's what it takes. It takes having conversations. And these books that we share are conversation starters. So we are here for you. So Nick, I had a wonderful time. I'm gonna need a whole week to recover just from this. So so I'm looking forward to 2 weeks from today. So if you would close us out, I'm ready to have a little bit of lunch.
All right. That sounds good. That sounds good to me too. Yes, yes. So we will see you. We will see you all in August. First episode in August in 2 weeks. UnRead Book Review with Nick and Roo. Thank you for joining us. And we'll see you next time. Peace.